Welcome to the Military Millionaire podcast, where we teach service members, veterans, and their families how to build wealth through personal finance, entrepreneurship, and real estate investing. I'm your host, David Pere, and together with my co-host, Alex Felice, we're here to be your no BS guides along the most important mission you'll ever embark on, your finances.
Vehicle 1, you're clear to depart friendly lines.
Roger, Vic 1, Oscar Mike. What's up, guys? Today I want to give you a quick shout out from our sponsor, me, and the No BS Guide to Military Life. So I just wanted to touch on this real quick because I don't mention this book enough, and I'm not necessarily trying to sell it to you. You can go download the book for free on my website. There'll be a pop-up that shows up and says, hey, join our email list. You can get the book for free, PDF, boom. You can also order the hard copy. I'm a fan of how the hardcover came out. I think it came out really nice, and the soft cover. But this book was written for anybody, military veteran alike, who wants to learn about how to build wealth using military benefits and military just opportunities to your advantage. But I will say that it was definitely written with the idea of somebody who was just joining the military, and it kind of goes chronologically through what I think would most benefit you learning at an early age, like your thrift savings plan all the way up through VA loan, building wealth with real estate, and then personal finance, entrepreneurship, personal development, growth, the journaling, goals, and transitioning out of the military, right? This was everything I learned while I was deciding whether to stay in, go reserves, get out. I went reserves. And so this book is written with you in mind. It's not a sales push. It's an actual like 250, 260 page book that is here to help you as a service member veteran learn how to build wealth. So go check it out. You can download it for free or go to Amazon or go to FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/book. I hope it helps. Let me know. What up, guys? So this is Dave and Alex, and we are coming to you live. We're doing our, I guess this is month 2 of just Dave and Alex doing a podcast. This one's going to be a little bit more casual because, quite frankly, I'm a big pussy and I've just been on my feet and doing Zoom calls like all fucking day. And I was like, damn, Alex, do you think being casual instead of having all the lighting on and standing will bother you or bother anyone? And Alex was like, man, how many people watch the YouTube? And I was like, realistically, like maybe 10% of our listeners. So if you're on the YouTube and you see that I'm just sitting in my chair without all my fancy lighting on, I'm sorry. This is the real me. So Alex has got his fancy shawl on. He's looking all, look at him. Is that from your box?
My box.
Don't you do like don't you have like a subscription to like this once a month men's fashion?
I cancel that. That's a good idea for people who don't have any style and don't care about style, but it's not a good idea for somebody like me who cares about the way I look and wants to present, I think,
a very unique style.
Yeah. Like, okay. I don't know we're going to get into this, but people look, wearing what you wear mostly for the most part doesn't matter. But if you're going to wear something, then it does matter what you choose. Because what you choose to display to the world, it doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money, but it does represent who you are. To the way that you look represents the way you are. So yeah, what you try to wear, how clean it is, whether it's pressed or not, the way it fits, these things matter. And so if you go off and you get a box, that solves some of the problems of having to like choose and like what's in style and taking the time to shop and like does it fit? It solves a lot of those problems. But then what you end up getting is you get a bunch of generic stuff from Target, which is perfectly fine if you are a generic Target kind of person, of which I am not.
Meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum, I'm the guy who runs around in sweatpants and a hoodie and doesn't give a shit. Unless it's like an event where I'm like, yeah, I care to dress up because I enjoy dressing nice and I enjoy dressing up, but not as much as I enjoy just being comfortable. And so
all I'm saying is you can tell me all you want in the world that how you dress shouldn't matter, but it does.
Oh, it totally does.
Judge you for it. And people decide, pink t-shirts turns a lot of people off. And that's exactly why I do it. And yeah,
I've definitely been chastised for wearing like jogger pants or sweatpants to a dinner with friends or with other people. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I don't really care. Like I wasn't here to impress you. If I was here to impress you, I wouldn't have worn sweatpants.
Yeah. Like I said, it's, it's a huge conversation to have and not one that's relevant. I'm wearing joggers right now. I just went off and I found a pair of joggers that I like from a company I don't remember the company, but I found a pair of joggers I like. And so what I did was I went off and I bought like 9 pairs in different colors. And now I'm working on getting some fancy sneakers so that I can kind of wear joggers everywhere. That's gonna be my new bit.
I'm gonna text this guy. I've called my acquisitions guy like 3 times today.
No. We're on a show. You don't get to do work while we're on a show. It's not like a chilling phone call. He's doing it anyways. He has no respect for his listeners. That's what respect for his listeners.
I texted recording podcast. So I've called him like 3 times because we have something very important we need to talk about.
You don't get to tell the listeners. You don't get to do that now. They don't have to get. They're not going to get wrapped up in your personal business. Look,
it's not personal business. This is real estate. We have a contract that the seller's trying to back out of in 2 days. So it's important.
Well, I've known you a long time, so that tracks. You're really bad at real estate.
Yeah.
So you asked me, or you had said you have a presentation tomorrow evening or this evening for a mastermind group. And I wanted to give our listeners some actual advice, something that I do, some insight to how these things work. So if you've been doing real estate for any amount of time, eventually you're going to start wanting to make content. And if you're any good at it and you have something to say, people are going to ask you to teach, whether it's at a local, meetup group, if it's on a digital mastermind, at a conference, whatever. Somebody's going to ask you to give a presentation on what you know. I recommend that you have a few topics saved that you can speak fluently on, that you have them, the presentation's kind of lined up and ready to go. And the insight that I wanted to give David, but I didn't want to give it to just David, I wanted to give it to everybody, was like, most of the time, these people, they have seats to fill. And so they're worried about getting people to this event. They're worried about getting guests they think can attract and provide value to guests. And so they're not super concerned about what it is that you are going to talk about. And they don't have a big list of things that they want you to talk about. What they want you to talk about is what you think you can provide the most value and will be applicable to the guests that are going to show up. That's not always easy because you're like, I don't know who's going to be there. But what I recommend is you have topics ready, which is annoying. But if you ask them for what topics they need you for, they're going to say they don't know. Or in David's case, they're going to give you the topic less than 24 hours in advance. And now you're scrambling to develop something which may or may not be a good fit for you.
Yeah. And full disclosure on this, I have 4 or 5 presentations that are done up, but I even had the PowerPoint done. Like I sent the finished PowerPoint to a VA and was like, yo, make this look fancy. So they look really good. It just happened that the 4 or 5 topics I was like, these are, what I have prepared wasn't what they were looking for. And this is for a good friend. So it's not like if it was somebody I didn't know or didn't really care about, I would have been like, well, like, this is what I got. And you didn't give me a whole lot of time, but it's for a friend. So it's less of a like, oh my God, I have to do this. And more of a like, it's like the dressing the part, right? It's like, I don't have to wear a suit, but I would like to for this event. So I'm going out of my way to try to make something valuable, which is great, except Wednesday happens to be my busiest day this week. So
I was just speaking in generalities for our listeners because I care about our listeners.
I know. And I'm a piece of shit.
Hey, speaking of listeners, we slacked off at the end of the year. I noticed those numbers, but we are hitting record listeners now. So I want to say thank you to everybody who listens to the show. Something like in 2019, way before I joined, you had 1,000 listeners, 1,000 downloads per month.
Well, that was the beginning of the show. Yeah.
That was the beginning of the show. Tragically bad. And then somewhere along the way I came on. And now record highs, 7,000 plus downloads, which if you Google that, that's like top 5% of all podcasts. If we get to like 12,000
downloads,
it's top 1%.
You're right. It was all you.
I'm just saying. Yeah, I didn't say that. I implied it. You said it.
I know. I'm just deciding if I want to talk shit or just chill and turn the conversation onto something valuable. So I think I'm going to do that.
Let's talk about something valuable.
Yeah. So why don't we go over like what's something you've learned this month or a book you've read or something that's been like that's made a big change for you in how you see yourself going forward? Anything that stand out?
I've been doing YouTube now for 2 years. I hate it. effing hate it. I'm not good at it. I don't like talking to a camera. That's not where my strong suit is. Where my strong suit is talking to people about real topics, kind of live, building communities. And so I have this idea. I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I don't know how to do it. Rather, is I want to do YouTube live. Well, actually, what I was thinking about doing was doing Twitch live, but
Streaming.
Oh, that's Peter Neal. I need to talk to him about raising money. But Twitch, I don't know anybody on Twitch. It's hard to develop a community. I already sort of have a community on YouTube, so I'm thinking about doing like YouTube Thursday nights live, and we'll talk about real estate and other stuff. And I think that there's a path forward for me there. So definitely, I have a superpower in creating local communities, creating real. Like I have a book club now; it's doing really well. Like creating communities is definitely a superpower of mine. It's how to leverage that. And find a way to make content that's valuable and can have a big reach. So always be pivoting.
I like it. I'm a huge fan of TikTok right now. I've been pushing people there. The growth or outreach I've seen from TikTok, like when I first got into like watch TikTok, I was like, like nobody cares. Nobody's gonna click on the link. Nobody's going to follow you from this. Nobody's going to, they're just going to watch the video. And even if you have a huge following, like the engagement's going to be terrible compared to everything else. I was wrong. I get more views from TikTok than any other social media platform on my website. We grew, I think it's like 19%. Like the Facebook group grew like 19% in the last 30 days. And like half of those are from TikTok. That's like 10,000 people. It took me a year to get not even that many people in the Facebook group. And now I did it in like, I think we grew like almost 8,000 people last month, something like that. It's crazy. It's like, holy crap. And so, and the time that is required for like recording a TikTok video is so much less than YouTube, or like, you don't have to put a ton of thought into it. You don't have to, you can. I've done some videos where it's like me conversing with myself about a topic and they do well. I also did a video where there was literally 11 seconds and I was like, I'm going to teach you how to get rich with your TSP and your VA loan. So follow me, you fucking idiots. And it got like 100,000 views or something. I don't know, 60, 70,000 views. And I got like 60 emails from it. And I was like, that took me maybe 2 minutes. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that doesn't appeal to me. View counts are higher on TikTok because you can get at 60 seconds, you can get 10 times as many views as you can for a 10-minute video on YouTube. So just by time, view count goes up, and I'm glad that you're getting engagement. But for me, it doesn't. I'm looking for something else. I'm not looking for clicks. I'm looking for a lot more nuance.
I'm just saying, like, if you were to want to do Twitch, you could totally pull sections out of your Twitch and just upload them there and push people towards it, and they would come to your Twitch from it.
Yeah, well, I think I'll do YouTube Live. I think YouTube is, I think YouTube Live is, I don't know yet, but I already have a platform on YouTube. I hate the idea of starting over for basically the same thing. But how do you do that? How much time do you spend ripping, highlights and rehosting?
I don't.
You pay somebody to do it.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
Sure.
I don't. We don't even do it with the podcast. Like, I've got a call next week with somebody, a VA who used to edit my show, who now does her own thing. And she's turning clips from podcasts into like Instagram Reels and TikTok, which is what I would like to do, because that would get way more engagement than the YouTube channel. But it's something I've known would get more engagement than the YouTube channel. But me going back through the podcast to edit pieces out is just not that it's not a good use of my time. It's that my time is too unscheduled and all over the place for me to sit down and go, oh yeah, I should do that. So
to me it's tedious and annoying. If I could find somebody to follow me around and grab all my great content and help me with like actually marketing it, then once I can afford to do that, I'll be in really good shape. But right now I put out great content. I just do it kind of when I feel like it in random places, and I don't repurpose any of it. So, and I don't really market it. Like, I just posted a great blog post about like, some philosophical problems of American life and loneliness. And, I'm not going to share it. I'm just going to put it on my blog, and it'll sit there for the couple of hundred people who see it. And that's it. But if I could get somebody to like, take all my content and actually, make a machine out of it, then when that day happens, I think I'll do a lot better. And same for you. When you can afford somebody to take the content, repurpose it, and turn it into a machine, you'll do well.
I've been trying to get with like a professor at the school locally, like one of the colleges, and say like, hey, you got people who want to build their portfolios and intern, I'll pay them. Like, it's not going to be an unpaid internship, but it would be cheaper to use like a junior in college who wants to get into that world and say, hey, I'll pay you less because you're a student and you don't necessarily need $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, but I'll also share your crap everywhere, tag you and stuff, and boost your, you know, your portfolio or whatever.
Nobody wants to do that until they
Yeah.
know you're a sure thing. But by the time you know you're a sure thing, you can afford to just pay somebody and not have to give them a piece.
Yeah, I'm in that weird spot where I can see the value, but I can't justify the cost. It's like I'm like in the gray area where it's like I could probably afford them, but not, it wouldn't be a smart purchase yet. But I'm also
Same.
at the point where like I can see the growth. So I need to just justify the expense sometime soon. There's the value add. If anybody wants mentorship and they want the value add, that's the one of the two that I would, you know, throw out to the world, is somebody to just, you know, move in with me and follow me around with the camera all day, which nobody's gonna take me up on, but or like a chief of staff, like integrator type personality.
Yeah, I have a camera. I would not waste my time on David Pere.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm too
that's the
valuable.
problem. I don't waste my own time with my camera. I'm like,
I also want to start another podcast. I have most of the infrastructure worked out. I want to start a podcast about like culture and politics, which is a heavy lift. I have a bunch of smart people who want to talk, who are, you know, have said yes. It's all production. It's all production costs, and I haven't been willing to pull the trigger, and I'm going to do some of it myself. So yeah.
So I'm gonna the book I read over the last month that is something I should have read years ago, and I'm just recommending to everyone right now, is the book Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. It's a little older. I think it's like 10 or 12 years old. You know, so compared to the books you read, it's ancient history. But it's so everyone talks about time management and time blocking and scheduling and yada yada. This is probably like the book that has broken it down the simplest way and like has like a system for how to set it up, and has things in there like I had never even thought about setting up a like not to-do list. Like prime example for me is I will not problem solve prior to 11, and I will not schedule stuff prior to 11 so that I can work out, eat breakfast, and have an hour or two of like working on projects or thinking through problems or whatever before. Because what I was realizing is like I was showing up at the office and like my assistant would be like, "Ooh, you're here. I've got 10 million things." And they're all like 2-second things. And it was like, by the time I'm done doing that, a half hour's gone, which is great. But the bigger issue is that my brain power, right? Like there is a definite diminished return between like solving 10 really small pointless problems and then sitting down to like think on a really big issue, as opposed to just not doing anything until you focus through finding the problem on the big issue and then tackling all the little things. Or I won't schedule calls after 5 p.m. anymore, right? We just moved our call right before that, our every other week one, which is the only thing I had after 5 p.m. So like now I can spend time with my kids at night. So that book has really helped me implement or get better at saying no, because I'm terrible at saying no, and it's been wrecking my life lately, and it's all my fault. So for anyone who's struggling with not having enough time, Free to Focus, Michael Hyatt, super easy read and super applicable. So
Nice. I am wrapping up 2 books. Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
it's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good book. Which I don't see recommended very much, actually, but very, very good book. I think I'm gonna say this. It's gonna sound fucked up, but I think it's a girl oriented. It's written by a woman.
Yeah.
It's the women I know like it, but it hasn't transferred to the male entrepreneur industry. But it is very good. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
And the other book I've just finished reading is The Changing World Order by Ray Dalio, which is a new book.
Halfway through. Halfway through the audiobook. Buying the physical copy already.
That is a sequel to The Big Debt Crisis. The Big Debt Crisis is basically like, if you have these problems, then your country is going to get ready to fail. And then we had those problems. So he wrote this book and he's like, okay, now that you fucked this up, this is what's going to happen next. So pretty pretty not bleak, just like get ready. You know, the dollar is going to devalue, China's going to win. Get ready.
Yeah, if you want to have a really optimistic outlook on the next decade in the country, read Changing World Order, The Fourth Turning. I mean, there's so many.
Capital in the 21st century. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's America.
You want to get really crazy? Read you some. What's that stinking Federal Reserve conspiracy
That's
book?
such a the creature from Jekyll Island. I don't like recommending that.
Yeah,
book.
I'm not a huge fan of that one either, but it gets people fired up.
Yeah. Well, what they do is they read that book and then they're like, it's a book about conspiracies for conspiracies. And, they read that one book and they're like, the Federal Reserve is a big cabal. And I'm like, I know what book. I can tell when people have only read that one book about the Fed.
Another one, which I don't think you've read yet per our conversations, and you need to, is Atlas Shrugged.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't read it.
I mean, it's a fiction, so it's, but it's, you read Fountainhead though, right? So you like Ayn Rand.
Yeah, I read Fountainhead. I like Ayn Rand. She gets a bad rep, but I think that a lot of people give bad reps to dense books they haven't read because it's easier to, what's Taleb say? He goes, it's easier to summarize a book you haven't read than a book you have read.
Well, and, Atlas Shrugged is about capitalism, which is arguably not the most popular conversation in the country right now. So I mean, it's not about capitalism, right? But it's kind of encapsulates, like, who is it? Patrick Bet David has a picture on the wall behind his recording studio of Atlas Shrugged and the Communist Manifesto, like overlaid. And it's like his yin yang. And it's kind of funny, but I'm like, I don't know if I'd call Atlas Shrugged the yin to the yang of, communism, but honestly, probably the best fiction book I've ever read. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's like a 60-hour audiobook and I crushed through it.
Yeah, I'm rereading with a book club of mine that's actually going better than I had ever hoped. We're reading Infinite Jest, 100 pages a week. And that is a bleak book about addiction and suicide and consumerism and meaninglessness of people's lives. And it's bleak, but it's very it's a kind of a tragic humor. It's a lot of tragic comedy. It's a lot of humor in it. So we're going that. We have probably 8 people that show up every week to read this book with me, which has been fantastic. I even found somebody found me. They just Googled Infinite Jest Book Club and found me. And I'm like, you don't buy real estate or know anything about
cool.
This? She's like, no, she shows up every week. My social circle is expanding into readers, which I am just enamored by.
That's actually really cool. Yeah. Infinite Jest is, I don't know if bleak is the word I would have used to describe it so much as just intense. Like that was a very long book, much like Atlas Shrugged. And it was not a book that I was like, oh, I'm getting in the car, I get to listen to this book for 10 minutes. It was like, oh, okay. All right, we're going to finish this because I told Alex I was going to finish this.
You should have read it with us.
I don't know if I could. Dude, 100 pages of that book a week would have been a lot for me to bite off. That was not my like Sunday comic book reading, it's a you got to be committed to read that book. That is not not for the weak of, not for me, not for the weak people.
It's my second go, and in 2 years I'll reread it again, and I'll do it in a group setting so I can get other people to go through it because it's
I will be reading some of the other books with you.
So yeah, for anybody else that wants to join in, I'm doing a book club. I think I had 3 books planned, and I think it's going to end up being a regular thing. The next one I think we're going to read is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a book that everybody knows exists and few have read. I just read Moby Dick, which turned out to be an amazing understanding of human obsession, like I'd never really come across before. And then after that, we're going to read Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which is Nietzschean philosophy about hyper-individualism. And then we're going to read Anti-Fragile, which is economics and philosophy, a must read.
100% follow you on Anti-Fragile.
Yeah.
I just finished Thus Spoke Zarathustra like 3 months ago, so maybe.
Great. That's what self-help could only wish it could be.
It's very introspective. All right. So we've talked about some books, some podcasts, some things we're learning, some things we're doing, some irons in the fire. Real estate. What do you got going with real estate?
I'm a terrible flipper. I've learned this. I'm terrible at flipping houses because I don't want to show up every day and do it. I just want to set it on auto, and I don't have a contractor or a project manager that will just kind of help me. I'll find deals. I'll pay for deals. You do the thing. I don't have that. So I've been getting my ass kicked. That said, I finally got a property on the market. It's going to sell. It's under contract. We're going to make some money, and that's going to be well. Also, Climb Capital is going to come under contract here for a bunch of properties that we're going to be raising money for. Resort RV parks are our bread and butter now. Resort RV parks are today what C-class value add multifamily was in 2015. Get ready. Now, C-class multifamily value add properties are your walk-on cap rates of freaking 3.5%. It's saturated. Game is up. Value add resort RV parks just getting started. You can still get high cap rates. You can get A and B class tenants, and the market is growing. So, and it's fragmented. So it's kind of like self-storage. So we're very excited about that. There'll be a lot of opportunities to make some money with some people.
Well, the nice thing with like an RV park is like they pay you up front.
What do you mean?
Right? Like the people come in, they come in to visit your RV park and park there, and they paid you to stay there. And so you're not going to sit there and be like, you going to pay? I'm trying to collect rent. You going to pay? Like, that's amazing. Because even with storage units, you're not dealing with people, but they can still stop paying. And then you got to deal with all their crap.
Yeah. Well, but it's not so hard to deal with their crap. But I feel you because but this is like, yeah, I mean, you park there, right? We own the land. We own the land. So there is some percentage of long-term renters. We've been working with a tiny home manufacturer. So we're putting tiny homes on the properties to do as Airbnb. Bro, I'm telling you, Climb Capital was a very good move for me. You should follow Jeremy on TikTok.
I do.
Jeremy Hans is on TikTok, and he is goofy. He's a goofy dude, but he's putting out valuable information. So yeah, we're looking to hopefully buy 65 million in real estate this year is the goal. I think we'll have probably 10 million under contract before the end of February. So yeah, very exciting times.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I got let's see. Man, I closed on one yesterday that I'm so stoked about. So I closed on the buy side, and private money paid it, I think 1.10% interest. So good terms for him. He provided the purchase and renovation. So we are 100% loan to or 100% funded on reasonable terms, no monthly payments, just due at the end for a flip.
I love that.
I might actually burr it, but the numbers on it are great, and it's a very light renovation. Realistically, I could rent it right now if I swapped out some carpet, but we're going to actually update it to make it nice, and because it's right next to a college in town, right? I guess sandwiched between two colleges in town, so it's a good location. And so it's just cool. Like I've got several properties that we've either just closed on or just about to close on or under renovation or whatever. But this one's cool to me because it was like I sat back and was like, oh, this is the first time I've had like 100% financed for both purchase and renovation in one transaction, and funded the renovation account and started the next day. Like super cool.
Yeah. Debt is getting so easy to get right now. And people are really, really, really bullish on real estate, which astounds me kind of. So
yeah, I see both sides of that coin, which is why I'm trying to buy stuff. I'm not buying unless it's 75% of the after repair value after all my costs.
Yeah.
So I'm, like for example, this one, we got this one for 60, ARV on it's like 120, and we're going to put 25 into it. So
nice.
Yeah, it's like, I'll buy that because even if the market takes a 30% hit, I'm good. I won't buy full market value on a renovation right now. And I'm not trying to do any gut jobs because I don't trust enough to do I say that I've got a $90,000 reno going right now. That's a huge deal, but there's a ton of upside on that one. So I'm pretty confident But yeah, I'm not trying to take, like I told my COO acquisitions guy, whatever we're calling him now. I told him last week, like, yo, we're not in the business of full renovations right now because I don't want to get stuck on a $60,000 in and the market goes the other way.
Yeah, I don't know if the market's gonna go the other way. It seems really, I mean, I don't, it's kind of like it's kind of like the black swan where he's like, if you measure everything in the market and it looks good, people think that means it's good. It's like, yeah, it's not the things that you can measure that get you. It's all the things you can't measure.
Well, and the thing is, like, we're looking at 25 weeks for windows. We've called 10 places. So it's like,
yeah, there's like the economy's in a weird spot. Like it looks good by a lot of accounts. And then you actually get into the weeds. And like, I know like Kate, she has stores closing left and right for good. Shipping is weird and like a lot of things. There's some weird stuff. And then did they announce the rates? We didn't talk about rates. We should pivot to rates.
Yeah. So the thing for me is like that renovation's great, but I mean, 25 weeks, that puts that on its own will put me past the 6-month mark on financing, which means it gets more expensive for me. We were budgeting a 3-month renovation. Well, that's all well and good, but if you can't get the pieces in, like,
yeah, I have the same problem with contractors right now where it's just like, I mean, I can find deals, but I can't get anybody to do the actually work in a reasonable amount of time. It's tough.
Oh, did you see my bobblehead?
I did see your bobblehead.
The world needs to see my bobblehead. That's hilarious. I thought that was hilarious.
He looks way handsomer than you.
My kid was like, that's not you. He's skinny. I was like, thanks, buddy. Thanks, Jackson.
Wait, was he telling you the truth or was he insulting you?
I think both.
Yo, the truth hurts, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, reserve rates are going to raise in March. And it's going to end bond purchases this month. I don't know how it's going to affect the market. I know it's the end of a subsidy. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm by no means an economic expert, but I view interest rates as like the throttle to a market. And I guess to clarify what I mean on that is if the market's trending up and rates go down, then the market trends up much faster. If the market's trending up and all statics point towards the market trending up and interest rates go up, then the market trends up slower. Like I don't necessarily think interest rates alone swing a market so much as speed up or slow down how fast it's moving in that direction. I'm actually really excited about rates going up just because I mean, we know enough. I know enough about the Fed to know that if we don't do that, we're fucked. Like we don't have any leverage left. We don't got all the levers are levered. Like let the rates go. But nobody wants to be the guy saying, hey, we should increase interest rates because I like having low fixed rate debt. But yeah,
I just made a video on this on YouTube. If anybody's curious about my thoughts on inflation, I just made a long form video about this. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works. I mean, everybody's had a subsidy. Everybody who's winning in real estate is doing it on the back of low interest rates, which is, people love to say capitalism, and rail on socialism. But the reality is for the last 12 years, we've had a top down economy, not a bottom up economy. The Federal Reserve has basically been, subsidizing everyone with low rates. If it was a market driven economy for interest rates, like it could be, rates would be probably much higher, much higher. And I wonder how much, what would real estate look like if mortgages were 7% rather than 3%? What if mortgages were 10%? And the same for commercial rates.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, supply and demand wouldn't be as off.
Yeah, what I really think is going to happen, is they're not going to raise rates, or they'll raise it really, really little. The market will slow like it did last time. They raised it 75 basis points, and the foreclosures came. The loan defaults. Because you got to remember, there's a not insignificant portion of commercial debt that is fixed, that is floating rate. So when the rates go up, the commercial mortgages, 5, 10, 15, $20 million mortgages that are floating rate, you got a $20 million mortgage and it goes up 1 or 2 points. That's a 20% increase in debt service. So now the defaults start rushing in. It's not about the fixed rate guys, it's about the bigger guys. So the defaults start rushing in, and then the Fed's like, oh, we can't take that, so we're going to lower the rates, and you're going to further devalue the currency. This is what Dalio is basically talking about. This is, I mean, he only said what. It's not news. It's just new. It's just new to us, but it ain't new. So
yeah, it's been happening for centuries, different countries, different times.
So the thing to watch is for the digital dollar and the RMB, the yuan, the Chinese dollar. That's going to be the next. That's the one. That's the crypto to buy, I think. I mean, I'm totally speculating, but that I think is going to be the one to get, is the crypto, the Chinese crypto yuan.
All right, so let's do this. This will be valuable for listeners. Not that either of us is an economic market expert per se, but I know you're definitely further along on the education train than I am on big market economics, but I would imagine that both of us have probably read more books than the average Joe, right? I mean, I've read Big Debt Crisis and several different books as well. I haven't read 21st Century yet. That is in my wish list / lineup. After I finish a couple more books on trying to unfuck myself and how I get my own way.
A lot of work to be done there,
dude. It's nuts to me. I sit back and I'm like, how does this still bother me? But it's a real thing. If you were Alexander Felice and you had $100,000 cash handed to you today, how are you investing it?
Same way I invest the $100,000 in cash that I come into on a somewhat regular basis.
I just asked it that way because it would provide a like.
So actually, look. So it's actually interesting because how you invest scalability does matter. So if you ask me, hey, I have $100,000, how would you invest it? Versus if you have $10 million, how would you invest it? They would actually be much different answers. So scalability matters because you can do certain things with $100,000 and you can't do with 10,000 and vice versa.
Well,
so
or if you have $20 million in cash, you might stick it all in bonds because you only care about capital preservation.
Sure, right, exactly. Things like that. And also it's like, what does it cost you to live? Right? $100,000 is not gonna, you still gotta go to work tomorrow. Right? $1 million, you still gotta work tomorrow. You hand somebody $10 million, it's like, I don't have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't have to work tomorrow. So now my life is changed in a way that's much, like you said, now it's like, ooh, a lot more goes in bonds because like now I want preservation of capital more than I care about returns. So $100,000. I'd stick the overwhelming majority into SPY. I'd probably sit on 20% cash.
For the listeners, what is that? I'm sure somebody doesn't know.
SPY is equal weight traded ETF that follows the S&P. Kind of like VTAX, the Vanguard Total Fund, right? It follows the market. You buy the American economy.
Yeah.
Because for me, investing in the stock market, I don't want to think about it. Also, I would say, actually, let me actually reparcel that out. I would say I would probably keep 20 grand, 10, call it 15 grand in cash. Let's see. I would put 25,000 into a LP position as an investor. And then 50,000, 60,000 into SPY. That's what I would do right now. But I'm heavily invested in real estate already. Right? I'm heavily invested in real estate already. So if somebody, doesn't have as much real estate, then I would kind of put more there. But right now I'm looking more at, I have a lot in real estate. I'd like to get a little more diversified into the stock market.
Yeah. So SPY, VTSAX is where, so with the stimuluses last year, I took all of them except for the last one and a half and just stuck it 50-50. And I created a Vanguard account for each of my kids. And one of them is in VTSAX, which I'm super stoked about because they're both closing it. Well, maybe not after this last week, but they were both about to be at $10,000, which to have a 5-year-old with 10 grand in a, S&P 500 tracking index fund, like I was pretty happy about that because that's more money than I had when I fucking got out of high school, let alone 5 years old. So, but and then of course the last bit we bought a 4-wheeler with, which was totally great investment in life. But it's interesting you say that. I forget that you are equally as much an index fund guy as I am when it comes to like passivity, simplicity. Like there's a lot of benefits to it. I don't have as much in raw index funds as I would like, because most of what I was counting as my index fund allotment for the last few years was just straight thrift savings plan 401k. So I've got 120 grand in there, which is sweet. But I don't have like maybe a couple thousand bucks in like an actual index fund, because, and this is kind of the answer to my question right now, would be, if the 100 grand hit my account right now, I would pay off the remaining personal debt I have, and I would just put it into my operations account, because I'm at, right now it's like having to get a second position loan for a renovation is very expensive. So having it just sitting in my operations account while it might get eaten for a little bit would save me points and interest on things that I'm already doing, because I want to have.
That's the problem with that question. It's like, what would you do with 100 grand? It's like, what would I do? What would you do? I mean, for me, I was trying to say like, what's a good overall strategy? Because like what I would do, actually a lot of what I would do is I would put 100 grand into my rentals and convert them to Airbnb.
Yeah.
So it's a really hard question to answer. Like, are you asking what somebody should do, or are you asking what I would do?
Well, I would,
and
I guess,
and I will say this: if no matter what you do, if you're not sure, it's easiest to do, 60% into SPY, 40% in cash, and sit. And now you're like, okay, I'm earning something. I'm not taking too much risk, and I can take my time and figure it out. But like day one, I would get that thing in the market, get it working, and I would sit in cash, and I would, or I would pay off debts.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing
that's like
that
really good. Sorry. That's like really good, like generic advice.
Yeah, I agree. I think the large chunk in an index fund where you're not thinking about it or touching it is great. I would probably put 10% of it, which is a substantially larger chunk than my current So for my current like portfolio, I'm between 1% and 2% in crypto, because it's super volatile, and in small quantities, I'm cool with that. In large quantities, I'm still iffy. But I would not be opposed to, if someone handed me 100 grand right now and I was like, man, let's invest all of this, probably 10,000. But instead of random cryptos, putting it in things like Algorand, which I have probably 3 grand in right now, that it's 4% APY that you're earning on that coin. And so
I love Algorand. I have a couple $100 in Algorand. I've been doing dollar cost averaging on Algorand. I'm glad. That's so funny that I have never talked about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I bought it. So the coin itself has gone up a lot in value over the last year and a half, 2 years. So that's been great, but 4% return, and there are absolutely downsides to that over, a savings account, but 4% is pretty sweet. And there's a lot of coins that you can stake that earn pretty high returns. It's just, again, it's super volatile, and you don't really know if that return is going to continue, or, so I wouldn't put more than 10% of my portfolio into that stuff.
Last year, the number was 1%. I think the number for Bitcoin for me is still much, or crypto is much lower.
Yeah.
Somebody hit me the other day, a guy I know who doesn't invest at all whatsoever. And he's like, what do you think about crypto? And I'm like, or what do you think about metaverse real estate? And I'm like, look, like, you know what? There's a lot of people who have a lot of money to gamble that I don't have. I am seriously, like, I am playing the 40-year game. I want to have a reliable retirement. I want to have an excessive retirement. And there's a lot of ways you can do that by making consistent, like, wise investments. And there's a lot of people making money in, gambles. But I can't, at 10% of your portfolio in crypto seems not conservative to me.
No. So, okay. I guess I should rephrase. That was if someone had handed me 100 grand and I didn't have, things to do with it, that I would put up to maybe 10% in that scenario. As far as my personal portfolio, it's between 1% and 2%. So I think if I was to look at my portfolio, and I really should add this to my net worth tracker to like break it out into a like a pie graph. But I think it would probably shake out to like 80. Well, I added something else in there prior to adding in the valuation of a potential business because someone talked me into doing that. It would have been like 85% real estate, like 10 or 15% TSP, and then another 5% scrambled between like a few individual stocks, which is they were just more like fun, like whatever. And then crypto, and I have some private staking in some private companies. So I lent a buddy like 12 grand. Probably my first actual investment ever. Like that was in 2009, 2010. It was like, I guess it was 7. So I got a bonus for enlisting, and I didn't know what to do with it. And my buddy was building a business and I gave it to him, and that's probably worth like 20 right now. So woo. But I mean, I just count that. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to ask him for it back because I don't care. But, and then I have Highlight. I like Highlight, like their clothes. And I invested in them like 3 years ago in a private offering as a crowd fund when that first kind of took off.
I didn't know that. That's why you sent me some Highlight pants one day.
Yeah. I was trying to get them to sponsor the show. And I couldn't convince them to do that, but they did send me they gave me like $500 in free shit. So I sent you some, and I gave John a pair, and I love their gym shorts. Their jeans I wasn't a super huge fan of. They're comfy, but they're not stylish like the style I would wear. But I love their gym shorts. But yeah, I put $2,500 into it. They almost went public last year, and at the valuation they were gonna go public before everything went crazy. That 2,500 would have been 10x, so that would have been pretty sweet. But then I also get 50% off for life as an investor. So that was the real reason. I was like, I'll put $2,500 off to get half off this stuff. And they gave me $500 in store credit. So I bought 1,000. I put 2,500 in, bought $1,000 worth of clothes for free, and I get 50% off for life. And I'm invested in a company that I like. So sweet deal.
Next time you do something like that, hit me up. I like that idea. That's a good deal.
Yeah, so I like gambling. Like if we were to go to a casino, I'm not like a reckless whatever. Like I'm the guy who pulls $100 out, puts his card in the hotel room and says, "This is my $100. Like this is it." And I'm pretty good about that, but I enjoy gambling, which is why I have to do that. And so I realized that it's more fun for me to gamble on like individual cryptos and potential like private companies than it is for me to gamble. It's kind of like the barbell theory, right? If
100%,
if one of those companies takes off and I lose on everything else, I'm good.
Yeah. People say, oh, people who pick individual stocks lose. 90% of them lose. I'm like, but do the 10% who win make more than the 90% who lost combined? Because if so, then that's a good gamble.
I turned $3,000 into 15 over the last probably 16 months gambling on crypto without any research.
Yeah. Well, the game is long though.
yeah. No, I mean, I actually sold it all out recently to pay for property.
It's so funny. People nowadays, like Buffett's been spouting off good investing advice for, a fucking century.
Yeah.
And people, they do like, oh, crypto's been up higher than stocks for the last 2 years. And I'm like, okay, but what about over the last 30? It didn't even exist 10 years ago. So like,
Lindy.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is it's like everybody else. It's only existed in an up market.
Well,
only existed in an up market. I don't know what it's going to exist like in 10, 20, 30 years.
It's my favorite whole life insurance sales pitch. Every time I hear somebody say TSP is terrible, what if the market crashes? I know that there's a whole life pitch coming, because they always look at, well, yeah, if you had $100,000 in a 401k in 2007 and you retired in 2009, you would have been screwed. And I'm like, great, you're right. Let's back that out 70 years and do the math on what happens. Oh, yeah, it's like
people say the same thing about real estate, though. I have a friend who's always like, put your money in real estate because, the stock market's volatile. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good, except the stock market's been up gangbusters for the last 5 years. And if you had the same money in stocks, you might be doing a lot better in real estate than you have in real in this. If you might be doing a lot better in the stock market than you have in real estate, depending on the timeline.
Dude, my TSP went up 44.63% last year.
Yeah, and you're bad at real estate. Like, stay to stick with stocks, bro.
Dude, seriously, I started 2021 with like $43,000 in it, and I've got almost 120K in it right now, and I contributed 21. So I mean, you do the math on that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
for nothing.
The problem is the problem is it's something like, it's just more complicated than that because like some significant, like very high percentage of the stock market drops are on only a few days in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like it's all great until it's plummeting, and then you're like, that's when real estate becomes appealing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
vice
I mean,
versa. And vice versa. Even in 09, 10, when the real estate market's plummeting, I mean, the stock market was up. The stock market was back up. You had 08 was like a down 40% year, and every other year since then has been up double digits. Basically.
Well, that's why I talk about the TSP and diversity, right? Like if you notice, like TSP is a much smaller amount of my portfolio because I absolutely like I would say security of real estate, but more when I say security, I think the ability to control the asset, right? Like I like the fact that I can go in and say, oh yeah, we're going to do this rather than like just hoping or wondering, what the market might do. But I also love the index funds and TSP because you can just set a dollar cost, a set amount every month, set it, forget it, no worries. And it just happens.
Yeah, you bet on America. I'll bet on America and it costs me $0 trading. Let's go, baby. Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. And as much as people hate on where the country may or may not be going right now, I don't see a country that I'm like, oh, you know what? I would rather bet on that one. Like there's not a whole lot of places. It's like people are in the country, they see all the problems in the country, but they forget all the like it's easy. It's like anything, right? It's like when you're in a relationship, it's easy to notice when your spouse doesn't do the dishes or cook the food and forget about all the wonderful things that may have happened all day. Until you're like not in a relationship and you're like, damn,
Tolstoy wrote this in a book called Anna Karenina. So for anybody who is wallowing in a relationship that they have that's like good on paper, but they're unhappy and they want to jump ship, go read Anna Karenina. For that exact reason. Yeah. America's a pretty good place. Hey, let's end it on that. I love America. Let's invest in America. I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
Wait, for real? Is that how you're gonna end it?
I don't know.
You want to say anything? Hey, make sure you leave us a review on iTunes. Make sure you check out Jeremy Hans's TikTok. Make sure you watch my effing YouTube because I don't know. I need the view counts. What else do we need?
Oh, actually, I've got an ask.
Yeah.
If so, these are new. The Alex and I doing just a thing, and we want to do more of them. Now, this is a little bit more casual than I think most of them will be a little bit more hyped up because I'm not going to schedule boring tax conversations prior to this. But topics, give us some ideas. Like if you made it this far and you like the idea of Alex and I talking through good, bad, ugly, what we're doing in our businesses right now, problems we're solving, whatever, like. If you want us to talk about businesses we're eyeballing, like I've got a couple ideas for new ventures. If you want to talk about taxes, if you want to talk about like, give us a topic. Because what we would like to do is get to the point where we do some of these and they have some structure, but we also want to do like, if you want to talk about taxes, we'll bring a CPA on, but instead of an interview, we're just going to be like, yo, today we're going to talk about this section in taxes or whatever.
Or case studies. Send us deals that you want us to look at.
Yeah. I like that. I would love to do like bring someone in for like 20 minutes out of a podcast where we just not like a full interview, but we're just like, yo, hey, you want to analyze a newbie deal? Let's go. So, or just email me questions and we will do, that's a cool idea. We could do that. We could do a show where we literally just have like 20 questions that somebody sent in and we just read through questions.
We need to do this. My whole thing is we need to do this on, remember I was saying earlier, like YouTube Live. You and I will talk on YouTube Live. People can chat in and we'll do it live and then we'll just put the posting as a podcast.
I like that. Yeah, let's do one. Let's give it a trial run. Let's schedule it. We'll do it YouTube Live, Facebook. I think we can do both at the same time where it goes to both places. We monitor both.
Facebook is for old people.
I'm not saying I care about Facebook. I'm saying I've got a lot of people in there, so we'd get a lot of questions engagement. I don't know how much my YouTube Live would get engagement.
We're gonna market it. We're gonna tell everybody it's gonna be here, and this time it's gonna be live.
I'm down. Let's do it. On that note, thanks for watching, listening to the Military Millionaire podcast. And as Alex said, leave a review because you're awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode about my journey from military to millionaire. If you liked it, be sure to visit frommilitarytomillionaire.com/podcast to subscribe to future podcasts. While you're there, we'd love for you to rate the show, give us a review on iTunes. Now get out there and take action.